Welcome. How to build bonds of attachment with your children. And I have Mandy Worsley here. And Mandy is an adoptive parent. She's also a mindfulness coach and a relaxed kids coach, and was a pediatric nurse for 26 years in the NHS. So amazing. And Mandy, tell us a little bit about, because you've been a foster mum of how many children?
We've currently got our third baby at the moment. So we've been fostering for just about 2 years since we started our training to become foster carers, and we've had 3 babies in the last 18 months.
And you have how many adopted children?
2 of my own children who I adopted. They're now teenagers. So my son will be 16 in August, and he was a 9-month-old baby when we adopted him. So I've been a mum for 15 years.
Amazing.
And my daughter was 11 months old, and she is 13 and a half. She'll be 14 at Christmas. So yeah.
So you really do know all about the importance of bonds of attachment. So tell me what they are. What is it, and why are they important?
Right. For me, obviously, I kind of learned all about it when I became an adoptive parent. Obviously, you get trained, you get information, you look into obviously the needs of children that are out there, that are in the looked after children system, that need adopting, and you get a lot of help and support around attachment, because there is something called attachment disorder, and there are 4 types of attachment. So I won't go into the technical side for people today, but obviously you can look that up. But basically it's about, bonding. It's about bonding initially. Obviously it would hopefully be the mother with her baby, but obviously if you're looking at children that have had a disorganized attachment, it could still be with their mom, it could be with them, it's their main caregiver, it's described as. And it can be disrupted for lots of reasons. Obviously, I know mostly about adoption and fostering, but all sorts of families can have those attachment issues. If the mother is maybe ill at the beginning of, the birth, this postnatal depression, if the child is ill and spends a lot of time in hospital, those bonds of attachment can have some issues forming in those early years. But what is really, really great, and what we've learned, obviously, we learned so much about attachment back in the 40s and 50s. There was, it's called the father attachment, and that is John Bowlby, and he did lots and lots of work. And then there's been other people that have studied it, obviously all through the 60s, 70s, and right up until today. There's loads of research and evidence around it, and I find it really, really fascinating. But ultimately, it's about maternal care and love. And obviously, if a child is lacking in that for whatever reason, then obviously their relationships can be affected, their emotions can be affected, their ability to understand the world around them, so understand and form friendships, can be affected. So that is kind of, in a really brief nutshell, what attachment is and how it can affect young children. It doesn't have to be children in the care system, but obviously there is a lot more need within that system. But lots of children can have attachment issues if that bond, or that initial care in the first early years is broken for, like I say, lots of reasons. The mum or the parent may be suffering with depression, be struggling. As I said, the child may have an illness where they're spending a lot of time away from the parent. I personally believe that, maybe children that spend a lot of time in childcare from a very young age with people that are busy, they're in busy baby rooms. I do worry that those bonds of attachment aren't quite as strong. We're in a big working society where mums are expected, or parents are expected, to go out to work. So there's lots and lots of reasons why bonds of attachment may not be as strong. But what is amazing is, if you understand even a little bit about it, you can change that, you can work with that. And obviously through Relaxed Kids and loads of other amazing things, you can strengthen those attachment bonds.
That was my next question. How do parents strengthen the attachment, for the bonds of attachment?
So again, we can use these words and they can seem quite complicated and scary, but basically it's around caring, it's around love, it's around giving the child time, it's around having fun. And that is why I obviously found Relaxed Kids and gravitated towards that. And again, on the more therapeutic side, there is what's called TheraPlay. And what I was looking into that, and I've done work with an adoption charity that obviously have TheraPlay therapists, which is an actual therapeutic method of building bonds of attachment. But actually, Relaxed Kids is so similar, but it's actually, I feel, more accessible for any parent to be able to do. Do you know what I mean? It isn't seen as a therapy, but it can change your relationship with your child. It can change your child's relationship with you and with their peers and with their friends. And it's just a magical thing that you know, anybody can do. But it's not complicated. And as we know with Relaxed Kids, it's very, very simple things that we hope we would do on a regular basis. Maybe understanding why we do them. Why do we sing songs to our children? Why do we cuddle our children? Why do we stroke our children? All of those things are building bonds of attachment. So they're really simple things that we can all do every day. But if we build them into a structure, such as the 7 steps, we can make it fun. And again, if you go back to that fun element, when you learn something, if you think about a child, they learn through play, they learn through singing, they learn through actions, and their brain absorbs that kind of interaction, you know, much quicker and much better. So by looking at attachments, but from a fun and relaxed perspective, it's very, very easy to do.
Absolutely. And one other thing with attachment is eye contact, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. It really is.
Because that is, from my understanding, that's the first thing that babies have. They have initially their mother's eye contact, and then the father or whoever that caregiver is. And doesn't their brain develop through that eye contact? Have I read that or got it wrong?
Again, if you go back to there was some other research done, which is quite famous, and it's on about monkeys, and they obviously did research on rhesus monkeys, and they gave them, there was like 2 doll type monkeys, and one had obviously the food, so it kind of had a feeding bottle, but the other one was soft and furry and cuddly, and what it showed was that, you know, that kind of touch, that physical touch, when again looking at the child face to face, they would go to the other monkey, the doll, for food and sustenance, but they needed to develop, and again then they did assessments and looked at those things, and they needed the love and that kind of bonding and attachment to grow, develop and become sociable, like you say, with the other monkeys, and obviously for us with our peers. But yes, I mean, I'm currently got a 2-week-old baby, and I'm constantly looking at him and talking to him, and he's obviously making eye contact with me now, and you can feel like you can see his brain developing, because ultimately, and if you look at the brain, we're born with half a brain. All of that changing, all of those, you know, synapses, everything that is growing and developing, and we're building actual connections. So we're saying bonds of connection as in a physical connection, but what you're actually doing is you're building new pathways and actual connections within your physical brain, just by, like you say, looking at your child, smiling at your child, comforting and holding your child. And they seem so simple, but for some people that is very difficult for whatever reason, and children do miss out on that. And if we can integrate that and bring that in, and we do that amazingly with Relaxed Kids with the 7 steps, and again you can develop it, because as you say a child that's a little bit older and they have struggled and they've not had that, it's going to take longer. So eye contact may be really difficult for them, but again you could start off with games or actions or things that don't kind of push them to do that direct eye contact. But what you will find is, as you build those bonds, so it may be the parents or the caregiver, it may be such as us as coaches initially working with children, as you start to build those bonds with child, then the eye contact should hopefully start to come in. But again, it can be a process that you have to work through depending on the age of the child, really.
I do remember a little boy years ago. He'll be a young man now, I think. But he couldn't make any eye contact at all in the beginning. But then slowly, just something happened, and he was able to have that eye contact during the classes. The other thing is, there is a meditation practice of staring into somebody's eyes, and I've done this a few times on a number of meditation retreats, etc., and it's so beautiful because everything goes away. It's hard to start with, and children can, and you can get the giggles, but even if you get the giggles, it's a lovely thing to do for parents and their children, or parents together. It's a beautiful thing, just looking into each other's eyes, and you just love and kindness and all the good stuff in us.
And as you say,
something happens.
If you were to take, obviously, brain scans at that time, you would literally see the brain lighting up in those areas, as you say, and you're building new connections and neural pathways every time you do that. I mean, we know as a baby learns to smile, if you smile at a baby, they will smile back at you. But if they don't get that, again, our previous foster baby was 8 weeks old when he came to us, and he hadn't had much interaction for those first 8 weeks. And literally, again, obviously, I have lots of colleagues who are nurses and friends. And one of my really good friends met him when I just brought him home. And she was like, gosh, is there something seriously wrong with this baby? Or is he deaf? Or is he blind? Because he couldn't make eye contact with you. But he hadn't had it for 8 weeks. But literally within a month of just being with us within our family, obviously my teenage daughter is like a little mini mum as well, and we're just picking him up, we're just talking to him, we're just loving him and singing songs to him, stroking his face. Whenever you're feeding them, you're making eye contact, and all those things. And to see the change in that baby, and he was nearly 1 when he's gone to his new adoptive family, and he's just perfect. But obviously for 8 weeks he missed out on that. But again, this is what I love about the brain. It's what we call plastic. It's malleable, it can change, we can repair ourselves even into our adulthood. It's not too late. And that's what I love again about the program that we run, isn't it, Monetta? Because we work with parents as well, because they may struggle because they've had their own issues in whatever's happened in their life. They may not have had that loving bond and attachment with someone, and they're not used to it. They haven't been shown that kind of affection themselves, and so they struggle with it, and then they don't aren't able to do it with their children. But through the work that we do, we can help parents and children or caregivers to build those bonds of attachment through, like you say, just really fun things. It's not complicated, it's not difficult, it's not an onerous task at all. And if anything, people would think, oh gosh, well, why is singing this song or doing this little massage, is it actually making a difference? But it is. And that's what I love about being able to explain that to family, to children. I love the way that we talk about the brain within Relaxed Kids and how we explain it to them, because again, if they get, especially if they're old enough to, if they get what's happening to their brain, they can understand it then and help work with you and work with them to make that difference.
I mean, all these things, all the elements of Relaxed Kids, all support the vagus nerve, which is this long cranial nerve. You probably know a lot more than I do, because I don't do the theory, but all I know is that hugging, massage, stroking, singing, laughing, breathing deeply, exercise, humming, chanting, meditation, I think that's 10, and social contact, they all tone and stimulate this vagal nerve. So do you want to say anything else about what that vagal nerve is and the purpose and why it's important?
Well, as you say, it links everything within the body, doesn't it? So as we know, we're talking about the brain at the moment, but when we do any kind of relaxed kid session and any adult session, we talk to them about how things feel in their physical body, because when we feel worried or anxious or excited, we might get a stomachache, we might get butterflies in our tummy, we might have our heart racing and going faster, and that is, you know, things being sent from our brain through our nervous system, as you say, but also through different chemicals that are released in our body that affect from our brain to our body. So that brain body connection is huge. And by understanding how our brain works, but then by understanding how we feel both emotionally and physically, you know, when you marry the two together, that is so powerful, as you say. So again, the fact that we always move our bodies at the beginning of a session, and obviously with the older children and the adults, I do basically a body scan where they just think about each part of their body and they maybe tense it and relax it. And is it warm? Is it cold? Do we ever think about our toes normally throughout the day? We don't. But when we do a body scan, we'll get them to concentrate on their toes. Are they warm? Are they cold? Are they tingly? And we move all the way up their body. And we getting them to notice. And I know when I work with children, I do quite a lot of work in schools. So we go in week after week, and they can start when they start to tell you, you know, how they felt physically in their body, or they noticed a feeling, that's then becomes part of their control. So if they feel a little bit worried or anxious and they feel those butterflies, they know to do their roller coaster breathing, their special breathing. They know to, you know, massage their hand with the happiness button, you know, all of these things. They know that physical thing to change a physical feeling in their body, but it's come from their brain, it's come from their mind, it's come, you know, it's together. And again, what I wanted, one of the really important things with attachment and then linking that to relaxed kids is repetition. So by doing something over and over and over again, you are what we call building a secure base. So again, it's like having that secure base, because again, for a child, their secure base usually should be their primary caregiver. So again, they can go and explore the world, but they can look back and they can know that you're there and that they're safe. If they haven't got that bond of attachment with you, they could just go off and not, you know, really kind of care who's around, or even when the caregiver is there trying to give them love and affection, they're not soothed by that. So again, it's really important. But for me, it's the repetition, because again, I think lots of people worry about, maybe even within relaxed kids, that we have to do something different and new and fun every single week. No, just do. I honestly really have a very simple repertoire within my relaxed kids work, whatever the age, it's age appropriate. So we work with the little ones all the way through to the adults. But I have what I call my little Mary Poppins bag. I just have one bag that I carry around with me, you know, to a school or whatever. I don't have millions of props. We do have props, and I'm going to talk with you as well. But I just have a little bag, and they love rooting in that little bag. But I do very similar things whenever I'm working, you know, with a family. And most things we work, obviously within schools, we kind of work on 6-week blocks. But again, I usually work much longer. I've been in regular schools for a couple of years. Obviously with adoptive families, I'm working 6 weeks at the minute, and then that will hopefully extend.
Yeah. I just love when you were talking about the body and mind, because that's one thing that I've just always felt with what we do in Relaxed Kids is that, you know, and even if you don't have all the props, to be able to show children that they have everything they need with their body and with their mind. And in fact, when I first started Relaxed Kids 20 years ago, before I had for Calm, Confident Kids as the slogan, it actually was, I'm not sure if you know this, Mandy, it was singing bodies, dancing minds. That was the slogan so that our bodies would be singing and our minds would be free and happy. But then it was a little bit too, I don't know, I changed it to what it says on the tin for Calm, Confident Kids. But yeah, mind and body, so important.
And again, like you say, I love the fact that if I do a session, especially say with a parent and maybe working with an adoptive family, we're working on Zoom, we're working online like this, aren't we? So again, I haven't got all the props to give them or to hand out or whatever, but I like to be able to just do the session and then they can go away and continue to do that. Because again, it's about repetition. It's not just that half hour with me once a week or whatever. It's about building this into their life every day. So if they can, like you say, sing with their children, do massage, do breathing techniques, you don't need anything else, do you? You just need to be able to have fun, relax, and have a little bit, I think, that understanding and knowledge of how your body and your mind works. And children just get it. They really do get it. And I think it's a real light bulb moment for them when they kind of think, wow, yeah, if I do this or I think or feel this way, it makes me feel this way, whether that's a good feeling or a not so great feeling. But actually, I can control that as well, which I think is just so powerful. And the same for the parents. I obviously work with parents who maybe are really struggling. They have children with severe attachment disorder that have had years of neglect, and they're really trying to undo a lot of things that are, you know, really difficult. But we're just going back to basics with them. Like we were saying, you would have, if they'd been your baby from the beginning, you would have cuddled them, you would have sung to them, you would have held them. If we go back to, as I was mentioning before, in therapy, you know, they really do advocate, you know, them kind of, if they want to be babyfied, so wrap them up in a blanket, you know, give them, like, they may have, you know, say fruit shoot type bottles or any of the sports cap bottles. So you're kind of giving them that feeling of being nurtured and brought back to babyhood. But again, within relaxation, we have fun things, you know, we can roll them up in a blanket, can't we, or the yoga mat, or, you know, those kind of things. We encourage, you know, lots and lots of touch, don't we? It's very, very tactile, and it's just so important to, that attachment bond is massively built through those kinds of things.
And also, I was going to say, with our Baby Mindful program, that it's all based on attachment. So when mothers or fathers come with the baby, it is all about building that bond, allowing baby to sleep, allowing baby to move around, wriggle, not have to be anywhere, just being. That's a very key thing, isn't it? It's like being there for children, not sort of, oh, I've got to get somewhere, oh, I've got to do this, oh, I've got to clean. It doesn't matter, just be.
Just being instead of doing all the time. And like you say, I think lots of the classes children can go to, which are also amazing. There's brilliant sports groups and all of those things, which are amazing parts of children's lives. But a lot of them are doing a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? And actually, Relax Kids is really different to that, but really powerful as well. And again, I think lots of families, I mean, I've been a coach for nearly 4 years now, and I think a lot of children, which is amazing. And the parents, when we used to run like after school clubs, it was very different. They loved it, and the kids came out calm instead of coming out like, oh, you know, and even more kind of hyped up that, you know, having a long day at school or whatever. And then they came out with techniques that they could then share with their family and share with their parents and their siblings and things like that.
Absolutely. I mean, and I've met young adults now in their early 20s who came to Relax Kids classes in, you know, at the beginning of the century, and they're still using the techniques.
That's what I feel. I feel that I'm hopefully giving a gift, you know, from what that you've given to us, to just share that with people. And if they go away with one of our basic techniques, whether that's the meditation books, whether that's breathing techniques, whether that's some kind of self massage, they will remember that for the rest of their lives. That will change their children's lives when they become parents, and it's just a massive cumulative effect, which I think is amazing. And obviously we're going through such a strange and difficult time at the moment, aren't we, with the lockdown? And I think people have really struggled, and I think the need is going to be much greater. I know, as you say, I've been contacted by an adoption authority that cover 5 or 6 local authorities in my area of England, and asked to work specifically with adoptive families at the moment. And they sent out like a survey to all of these families to ask them what they wanted, and they asked for Relax Kids. which was
Amazing.
amazing. And that proves that over the last 4 to 5 years that within the Northwest, as you know, we've got a very strong group of coaches. We work together really well, and we're out there spreading that message and that word, and the families are benefiting from it. And so when they were asked what you need, this was what they asked for. So there's 3 of us working really closely. I've been commissioned to work with 28 families and parents. A lot of the commissions are working with the family and then doing the Just Relax with the adults, which I love as well. And that's just amazing that's been recognised. And like you say, I know it isn't classed as therapeutic, but it is. For me, I know that it is. I know that it is making a massive difference. But what I like about it is it's fun, it's easy, it's accessible. Anybody can do it. Anybody can learn it. When you're teaching it to families. So yeah.
Absolutely. And what, just finally, Mandy, what Relax Kids books or CDs would you use to help strengthen those bonds of attachment?
Definitely.
And how would you use them? Yeah,
I mean, for me, I always, obviously, every session we follow the 7 steps. Sometimes, depending on the child, especially if I'm working with a child, who maybe has some difficulties, some of the steps we don't always do, but we always do relaxation at the end. Because
I just sort of like for parents who want to build this attachment and they want to choose one book maybe or one CD, which one would you recommend?
For me, whatever age group, there's 2 books I always use. So I always use the Wishing Star, and then I always use the Magic Box, because I think the longer meditations lend well to the older children, but then to my adult Just Relax class. So those are my 2 well-thumbed, well-worn books that I use in every, as you say, we've got loads of books to choose from, which is amazing, isn't it? But again, how I gravitate to the same things, because again, that's comforting for me. It's repetition, and again, there will be similar ones that I always do the rainbow one, and I always do the cloud one, and do you know what I mean? There's some that just sing to me, and I feel comfortable and relaxed. I think they really resonate with the children, because again, depending on what we've done in this session, I'll add little things in, like like you've told me going up the rainbow, and you've told me your favorite color is blue. So something that we talked about during Relax Kids, I kind of then weave that in to meditation story.
Parents can do that as well.
Yes.
Yeah, and also the other thing about it is the way it's been written in a very it starts the same way, the middle is very similar, the structure.
Yeah,
and so children, when they even write their own meditations, they continue the same structure, and that in itself, when you're reading that to the child, that's strengthening, that's really helping.
A really big one for me that has come up with doing it online is I've been using a singing bowl. So I obviously ding the singing bowl at the beginning of the meditation, and they know to lie down, and we kind of wait that we're not hearing the sound anymore. And then I read the meditations 1 or 2, and then I ding the singing bowl at the end. And so many of the adoptive parents have said to me the power of the singing bowl, but it could be anything, any kind of little bell, or that you could get hold of. And again, we can get hold of them really easily. I mean, I've got this beautiful singing bowl that my mum brought me back from India, which is amazing. But I know when I started my journey, I just got some of the little bells that you can, any parent can pick them up. But I think it's like, and it's something that the children know when they hear that sound, it's relaxation. And then when they hear and again, they know they're ready to come back and
not or go to sleep.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I think they're so powerful. And again, it's something that we do it every week, and it's the same thing. And I think that's certainly, like, going back to our kind of topic of attachment, that repetition is so important, and doing something over. Because as we know, with our brain, to build that pathway, to build that strong bond and that connection, that neural pathway, we have to keep doing it. And the more we do it, as you say, it's like exercising a muscle. We would exercise. It's the same with our brain. And if we don't use certain things, I mean, again, you've probably heard the saying from when we were young, if you don't use it, you lose it. I mean, I played piano and violin as a child, and I've not done it for years. And you know what? I don't think I can read music now because I've just not done it. So I don't need it. So to be honest, that neural pathway that I was using at that point in my life, I haven't got it anymore. You know, some of the languages that I maybe learned at school, I can remember very, very few words of it. And it's because I've learned so much other stuff and I use so much other stuff every day. Your brain is very, very clever, and it will tune away those things that you don't need. So for us to build those bonds within the young people, it's doing it on a regular basis. And again, that's why I love Relax Kids, because the parents, the family, the teacher, the caregiver, you know, us as coaches, it's something that they can follow and repeat. It's not just therapy is amazing, and it's really needed.
I was going to say it's a perfect triangle. If the coaches are doing their thing once a week, and then school teachers are doing their thing each day at school, just bit by bit, and then parents are doing something, and then you've got a perfect triangle and the child's in the middle and it's all lovely. Oh, Mandy, that was really, really useful. Thank you. So many tips and the importance of building those bonds, and I hope everyone goes away with some of those ideas and how important it is.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting me to be part of this summit. I'm so excited, and I'm so looking forward to listening to so many other people and learning new things myself as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much.